Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited because today we're going to be talking about mini sessions. I get a lot of questions about mini sessions, how much to charge for them, how do you do them, what's the booking like, and so today we're going to be going over all of those questions. I'm going to try to keep it short, but we're going to go through the booking process, whether to do outdoors, indoors, or studio, how much time do you need. So stay tuned and we'll get right into it. A disclaimer, I by no means think that I'm an expert when it comes to mini sessions. These are just some tips and tricks that I've learned from the last few years of doing them. So hopefully you guys can find these helpful, take away a few different things from them. So let's get right into it. First, we're going to talk about indoors versus outdoors. So for myself, I've been doing mini sessions since 2020, I believe. So it hasn't really been that many years, but when I first did them, I didn't do them that well, just didn't make a lot of profit. I shot a lot of film. If you guys know, I shoot film and digital, and so I just didn't know how to make it profitable. So that was a few years ago now, and ever since then I've been doing them for spring. So I usually do blossom minis in the springtime. Here in Canada, in Toronto, we get some really beautiful cherry blossoms, so I like to do spring mini sessions. Sometimes in the summer I'll do a set of minis as well. This year I did them directed towards motherhood minis, and we did them at an apple orchard. And then in the fall, I always do fall minis because people love the fall colors, and I love doing them during the fall time, and it's nice and crisp and cool. And then I end off with Christmas minis. So those are the 4 sets of minis that I'll typically do throughout the year, but it's always changing. I'm not sure how many I'll be doing next year, but that is the goal, usually 4 rounds of them. Now, I usually shoot mostly outdoors. The spring ones are outdoors, obviously. The summer, the fall, all of those are outdoors. The only time that I would choose indoors is when it comes to the Christmas minis. So last year I did do the Christmas minis outdoors, but I just found that it got really cold for my clients. And so this year I wanted to try something different. I didn't want to have to worry about the weather, if it was gonna rain, if it was gonna be muddy. So I decided to do a studio in Toronto, and honestly everyone loved it. All my clients loved it. They had no problem coming there. And so it was totally worth it. I didn't have to think about the weather or anything like that. I knew that obviously if it got really dark that I would need to use a flash, but with mirrorless cameras I had the R6 just in case. The ISO can go up so high on that I wasn't really worried either way. When you're shooting in a studio, there are some things to think about, and that is the cleanup and the teardown time. So when you book a studio time slot, obviously you have to be in and out within that time frame. So from 12 p.m. is your start time, you can't come any earlier like you could outdoors. And if 3 p.m. is your end time, you can't stay any later because there might be someone after you. So just remember to take into account that you will need to start cleaning up earlier, and make sure that your time slots end a lot earlier, right? So you don't want your last time slot to be done at 3 p.m. You want to finish at 2:45 p.m. Yes, that means you probably won't be able to fit in as many time slots as you would like in that maybe 3-hour block, but you need to give yourself time to clean up. And if anything got pushed back, maybe some clients came late, then you need that buffer time just in case the last session you need to have it go a little bit longer. So make sure that you leave time at the end. You need to clean up, tear down anything that you brought, and give yourself time for the clients to exit as well, and so you don't have to rush the clients out. So if I'm shooting in a studio, I usually start 10 minutes after my studio time. So again, if it's at 12, I'll probably start at 12:10, and then I'll finish by 2:45 if my end time is 3, and that's like the latest time. I might even do, since this year was my first time, I might even do 2:40, maybe give myself 20 minutes, because my experience this time was just that I was kind of rushing, and then actually some things got broken in the studio. I guess some clients' kids broke some small ornaments and I didn't even see that, so it was kind of unfortunate at the end having to end off like that when I was meeting with the studio, not the owner but an employee, and she kind of does like a quick inspection over the studio before the next clients come in. So anyways, just give yourself extra time in case things do happen or if something got broken, so that way you don't feel rushed out of the studio. Another thing to consider when booking a studio is that you obviously have more of an overhead cost versus shooting outdoors. So most of the places that I choose to shoot, like Scottsdale Farm in Georgetown, again, these are all in Canada, they don't require any permit or shooting fee, so I can shoot there for free. But if I'm shooting at a Christmas tree farm outdoors, they do charge a small fee. I think it was like only $125 for 5 or 6 hours, so that was very minimal. But the studio was a bit more expensive, obviously, because they have more overhead costs. And so I think I paid $300 for 4 hours at the studio, something like that. I think it was like $100 per hour. So keep that in mind, that if you do book Christmas minis indoors or any minis indoor, that you will have that overhead cost, and so you might have to price your mini sessions accordingly. One more thing that I should mention with the studio, like I said, kids can easily break things, so that is one thing to think about, is bringing your own neutral wood toys or just something that kind of blends in with the set. You don't want to have black or just something that really sticks out, but if you have white colored toys or neutral wooden toys, then it won't really stick out in the photos, and then that gives something for the kids to play with instead of using what the studio has to play with. So make sure that you do bring your own toys, and if you need to move anything out of the studio that is breakable, that you know that the kids could easily break, make sure you do that as soon as you come into the studio, and that way you don't have to think about it. Also consider the fact that if you have clients cancel on you the day of the session or the day before, you might not have time to fill that spot. So you will lose out on a little bit of money when it comes to shooting in studios, because again, you have that cost of shooting in the studio. So the past Christmas minis that I just did, I did have a client message me literally within the hour of her session and say that she couldn't come because her kids were sick. I didn't give her a hard time. It happens, right? So I already knew that going into it, that I'd probably have 1 or 2 clients cancel. So that's why I priced the sessions accordingly, so that if that does happen, I'm still profiting and it doesn't matter either way. And usually when it comes to canceling mini sessions, the fact that she needed to cancel because her child was sick, most of the time I'll just give a refund, so that way I don't have to think about, you know, trying to reschedule it or postpone it. Sometimes I will use that credit towards another session, so I'll let them know if they just want to book again next year, maybe they want to book the spring minis, they can use that credit towards the session. So I'm a bit flexible in that way. I never want to, you know, make clients feel like I won't give them their money back. To me, the client experience is the most important, and I want to keep my clients happy, and that way they'll keep coming back to me for years and years to come. Now I'm just going to talk quickly about the amount of time that you need, whether you're shooting indoors and outdoors. So for my outdoor sessions, I usually do 25 to 30 minute time slots. And that gives us enough time to walk around the property, get lots of candid moments, and to not feel rushed. I found that in the past when I've only done 15 or even 20 minutes outside, it just felt a bit rushed, and basically I always went over the 20 minutes anyways. And so now with the 25-30 minutes, it's like the perfect amount of time to get tons of fun candids, to really explore the area, and to not feel super rushed. And this also is something that I'll talk about when it comes to them purchasing the whole gallery. When you shoot for that long, usually obviously you're gonna have a lot more images, and then in the final gallery, most of my families will purchase the entire gallery just because there's so many options. So I find it more beneficial to shoot a little bit longer for those outdoor sessions, and for me it does pay off when they buy the entire gallery. Now, when it comes to the Christmas minis or any studio minis, I typically do 15 to 20 minutes. I find that that's the sweet spot for kids, to keep them entertained, especially in a studio where you can't move around too much. 15 minutes is a lot of time to get those perfect pose shots and then just a few fun shots of the family. I find that for Christmas photos, people aren't looking for a whole photo shoot like they are for their fall photos. It is more of that quick Christmas card picture, maybe something to post on their Facebook or Instagram. And so in that case, that's why I only need 10 or 15 minutes, because we are just trying to get those few golden photos. Okay, now I'm just going to share quickly how much time I leave in between each sessions. I've kind of tried a bunch of different things when it comes to the timing in between sessions, and so this is what has worked for me. When it comes to the outdoor sessions, I leave at least 10 minutes in between the session times. So again, I have 25-30 minute time slots, and then I'll do 10 minutes in between each of my sessions. And that gives me enough time to walk back from where I was, because sometimes when I'm at a big location, it gives me time to walk back to the parking lot for the next family. When it comes to the tree farm minis, I usually only leave 5 minutes between my sessions because we are in one small location. So it's a lot different than shooting at a big property where there's lots of spots to explore. The Christmas tree farm, they just give us a little section of trees to shoot in. The spot that I go has a little red truck as well, so we'll usually do some shots with the red truck, and then we'll do some candids in the actual tree aisles. So because of that, I only need 5 minutes between clients, and that's more than enough time to transition. And 15 minutes is more than enough time also for kids to run around and get those fun shots. Now, when I'm shooting in the studio, again, I think 10 minutes is the best amount of time to have. When I did the Christmas ones just a couple weeks ago, I think I only left 5 minutes, and it wasn't really enough time, especially when some clients ran late. It really added up quickly. So I think going forward, I would probably do 10 minutes in between my clients, unless I was at a studio where it was really accessible and the clients could easily come in. But this last studio that I was shooting at, I didn't realize, but on weekends, you need someone to constantly be opening the door to let your clients in. And so that didn't really make sense for me when I only left 5 minutes in between sessions. Thankfully, the studio employee that was working there, she was able to help me let my clients in. But I just realized moving forward that 10 minutes would probably be better for buffer time, unless I can have a second set of hands there specifically for me that can really help guide my clients in to find the studio. And then I don't have to worry about that part at all. Then maybe 5 minutes would be enough in that scenario. Okay, so next we're going to talk about pricing, which I know is kind of a complicated subject. Everyone's going to price differently, especially depending on your experience. If you're new to minis, you might have to start off a little bit lower to really get those clients coming back to you. And once you've been doing them for a few years, you can raise your prices. You probably have some regulars that continue to come. So don't be afraid to charge what you're worth. I would also say that if you're selling out of them super quick, like you post the link and within the first few hours they're sold out, then that probably is a good indicator that you can up your prices as well. Again, as long as you're comfortable with what you're charging. I've found prices that I found works for me and what I feel is a good price that I would be willing to pay. But if I was selling out super quick, then that would give me an indication that I can probably charge a little bit more. So here is my pricing. For 15 minutes, I charge $275 in Canadian dollars plus tax. So $275 for 15 minutes, and that gives you 10 digital edited photos. And I'll talk a bit about the gallery in a second, but that's what I charge for 15 minutes. For my 25-minute mini sessions, which I do again in the fall time, I do $375 plus tax. So it's $100 more, $375, and then you also only get 10 edited images with that session as well. So even though you get more time, you're still getting the same amount of images. And then after that, I do $10 per extra image. So if they want to purchase more than the initial 10, then it's $10 per image, or it's only $100 and they get the whole gallery. And sometimes the gallery has close to 200 images in it, especially if it's that 30-minute fall session. So that's just how I like to price things. I know some photographers that charge $200, $300 for the whole gallery since it is a lot of images. But for me personally, I find that $100 is the sweet spot to get most, if not all, my clients buying the extra gallery. And I want them to have those extra images, right? Like, it just makes sense. I've already edited them. And this is what I was going to mention too, is that when I send them their gallery to choose their 10 edited photos, I basically applied the same preset to all of the images. And so I've just quickly done that in Lightroom. I applied the same preset. I uploaded it to my gallery. And then from there, it's going to be hard for them to choose only 10 images when they see, 100 to 200 images. And so I like doing the editing, even though it might take me a little bit longer. They get to see the final product, and it makes almost 99% of clients buy the full gallery. So it totally pays off for me. Keep the gallery price reasonable. Again, $100 works for me, and that way I can make that extra profit. And then when the clients choose their final images or they purchase the whole gallery, I will add in some black and whites at that point as well, as an extra little surprise. I know for some people they really love black and whites, so it means a lot to them. So I'll quickly add in a few black and whites throughout the gallery, and then I'll send over the final images. Now we're going to talk about delivery, how I deliver my images to my clients, what I'm using for my galleries. We're going to talk about my CRM. So I use Sprout Studios, and that's basically what I use for my galleries, my invoices, the booking, the scheduling. Everything I do is through that, and I'll probably have to make a separate video on how I do my mini sessions on there. So I use Sprout Studios for my galleries, and then clients can actually favorite the images and send the favorites to the photographer. So it's a nice and easy way for the clients to choose their 10 images, and it makes it simple for me as well to just see exactly which ones they chose. I also don't put a watermark on my images. I know a lot of photographers want to put their watermark, and that's totally fine. For me, I'm trying to build that trust with my clients to show them, hey, I'm not going to watermark my images in the gallery, so if they do screenshot it, it's whatever. But most of my clients trust me and value me enough that they won't just go ahead and screenshot the images that they want and still only select 10. So most of my clients will still buy the whole gallery if they like all the images. And then obviously if people do screenshot and only purchase the 10, it's not a big deal to me. I don't really care, but I really want to show my clients that I trust them, and so I'm not going to put a watermark on the images. And again, I think this is controversial. Maybe it's not the best thing to do. I just found that it works for me and my business. So make sure you do what's best for you and the type of relationship that you want with your clients. Because I've been in business for over 10 years now, I find that I've built that reputation that clients want to have a good relationship with me as much as I want to have a good relationship with them. So I know that I can trust them. But do what's best for you, do what's best for your business. There's no right way of doing it. It's just finding out what works for you. I also follow most of my clients on Instagram, or they follow me on Instagram, so I can already see what they're posting. And so if they were to screenshot anything out of the gallery, I would see that. So I think that kind of accountability works as well, and that's also why I don't feel the need to put a watermark on the images. Next, we're going to talk about film versus digital and how I go between both mediums and how I still profit off of my mini sessions. So when it comes to shooting in the studio, or basically any mini sessions that are 15 minutes or less, I don't shoot any film. So if it's 15 minutes, basically no film. I don't know, there could be a rare scenario if it was an outdoor session, but for the most part, I don't shoot any film, and I'll only do digital. And that's how I still make a profit off of those 15-minute sessions. When it comes to the 25-minute sessions, and I say 25 to 30 minutes because they basically are 30 minutes. I like to say 25 and then put a 10-minute break in between. So basically as soon as I'm done that session, I am just gonna go right into the next session, and that works for me. I don't mind not having a big break and just going right through them. but for the 25-minute sessions, I shoot 1 roll of film or less. So most of the time I'm just shooting the 1 roll, but sometimes if the session is just going so quick, or we have a kid that's going crazy or something, then maybe I'll only shoot half a roll and then save the other half for the next session. So anywhere from half a roll to 1 roll is what I typically do, and then the rest is obviously digital. So when they get their gallery, they get mostly digital, again 100 to 200 digital images, and then included in there is the 5, 10, 15 film scans as well. And I typically do separate in the gallery. I will have a all images folder and a film scans folder. So all images will have all the images plus the film, and then the film folder will obviously just have the film scans. And that way my clients can see what the film images look like. I know a lot of people are always curious which ones are the film ones if they can't tell. And some people value the film ones more. Again, I think it's just a beautiful medium, and so people are drawn to it. So I like showing them exactly which ones are the film ones, and that just helps them be able to choose their favorites as well. Okay, so one of the last topics is the booking process, and I feel like I could make a whole separate video on this on its own, but I'm just gonna go through it really quickly with you guys. So when it comes to booking my minis, I usually send it to the emails first. So I try to build a newsletter. People have signed up for my newsletter via Instagram or Facebook, and then that way, as soon as I announce my minis, it goes to their emails first. And this kind of gives the incentive to book first rather than waiting, because there is that immediate response of, oh, I need to get my spot. So make sure that you have an email list that you start, and then you send it to those people first rather than posting it right on Instagram and allowing everyone to sign up. So make it a bit exclusive for people. Maybe offer an incentive, like if you sign up within the first 3 days, you'll get 5 extra images, or just something small. Maybe you'll get $10 off and give them a little $10 off coupon to use when they're booking. I've done things like that, and it really does help people sign up first and get the minis sold out faster. So make sure to offer little things like that for your clients, especially if you're just starting out with minis and you're building those clients that are most likely going to keep signing up. So they go onto the booking link, there's a contract there, then there's a questionnaire, and that questionnaire is just asking for all the names of the people attending the session, and what type of session it is, if it's going to be a maternity, a family, an anniversary session. So just a few questions that will just kind of help me gauge what type of session it's going to be. And then from there, they need to send the e-transfer. I make it pretty clear that your booking is not reserved until you send that e-transfer. So after they've sent the payment, then they're all booked and ready to go. And 2 weeks before the session date, so before the mini sessions, I'll send out an email to everyone, and I'll just add a few more extra details about the day and how it's gonna go. I wanna make sure that they know exactly what time their session's at, when it ends at. I'll post a little screenshot here too of what I mean. Keeps everyone on schedule, and I just find that over communicating is better than under communicating with them. So I like to just share what the day's gonna look like with them, and then in that email I'll also include a Pinterest board, so a very specific Pinterest board to those mini sessions. And I find that it really helps my clients show up in the right colors and what looks best with the season and the background. I'm also going to show you a detailed map that I usually attach in that email as well. And this is just to help my clients know exactly where to park, know exactly what the spot looks like. Just again, making it all very clear to them, because if you have 8 or 10 people showing up that day for mini sessions, you don't want to be constantly on your phone telling people where you are, where to meet you. You want to make it very simple and easy for them to find you. And I've had this happen so many times where I've been at a shooting location at a park, and everyone's doing minis that day because it's fall, and then people keep coming up to me and asking me, oh, are you Sarah, are you Rebecca, because maybe their photographer didn't send them a lot of details or really communicate with them what they look like or where they were going to be. So I always like to over communicate. I have a picture of myself on there, my phone number, every detail that I can think of I try to include in that email and on that map. Okay, so these are my final last little tips to give you guys, little golden nuggets that will hopefully take your minis to the next level. So first, just a reminder to tell the parents to keep smiling. So sometimes when they arrive, they might be a bit distraught. Maybe the kid's already crying or screaming. I try to remind the parents right away, as long as you keep smiling, I'll work the magic. I'll get the kids to smile. I'll get those beautiful candid moments. Just don't worry at all. Just try to enjoy yourselves. And again, just really reminding them that they need to keep smiling, so that way in the background of the photos, they don't look frustrated or upset or angry. And I'll make sure that the kids are smiling and I can entertain them and get some really beautiful photos. Sometimes I'll even show the parents the back of the camera, even if it's just a shot of the kids, and that way they get confident that we're getting some beautiful photos. Because sometimes people feel like, oh, did we get any good shots? You know, the kid was running, things were crazy. So just showing them 1 or 2 shots on the back of your camera can really help ease their mind and actually start enjoying the session more now that they know that you're getting some good stuff. Next tip is having the Apple Watch. So again, I always like to have my Apple Watch on me whenever I'm doing sessions, but especially during mini sessions, I'll have a little list with all the time slots, with everyone's names, because when you're doing mini sessions, there's a lot of names to remember. You have the parents, the kids, times, 30 people, right, that are going to be showing up that day. So make sure you have everyone's names right there on your phone ready to go. Another thing to remember too is having an alarm set. So as soon as each session is done, my Apple Watch will let me know. So I make sure that at 3:25 or 3:55 that my alarm will go off. It'll give me a quick buzz, and that lets me know, okay, I need to wrap up here, get ready for my next session. I think what can also be helpful too is having an actual alarm on your phone. That's just more of something that I set on my calendar so it pings. But sometimes having an actual alarm that will go off and you need to manually shut it off is good for the clients to hear as well, because I've had it where clients aren't really realizing that the session's over. Maybe they didn't hear my watch ping and it's just me that heard it. They kind of feel like, oh, we're gonna keep shooting. So having that alarm that actually goes off where they can hear it will let them know, oh, okay, my session's over, it's time to wrap up. Because I know some people love shooting and they just want to get as many shots as they can. So just a heads up, maybe it is a good idea to set another alarm on your actual phone. Next is to always bring water for yourself. Make sure you're staying hydrated. It's something that can be so easily overlooked, but I've literally almost got a heat stroke doing minis out in the heat and forgetting to bring water. So make sure to bring water. Props, make sure that you bring the different props that you need. If you're at a Christmas tree farm, I like to bring a wreath and a garland, blankets, all these little things that really add extra special touches to your session. So make sure to bring some props, some toys that fit the aesthetic that you're going for. When it comes to memory cards, make sure that you're shooting on bigger memory cards. I know with weddings, it's almost better to shoot on smaller ones because, God forbid if something was to happen to a card, then thankfully you have multiple different mini cards. But for the most part, when it comes to minis, I like to shoot on 64 gigabyte cards because we are going fast throughout the day and I don't really have time to always change the cards out as soon as it fills up. So I learned that recently, that I'm always going to shoot on 64 gigabyte cards, especially for mini sessions. And then another reminder too is to make sure that people always have everything out of their pockets. So guys like to carry their wallets and the keys and everything. So just keep an eye on that as soon as your family gets there, that you're looking at their pockets, making sure that everything is out and you won't have to edit anything out of the photos later. And lastly, just a reminder that if you are a newer photographer, make sure to give yourself more time. Obviously, I've been doing this for a long time, so for me, I don't need as much space in between sessions. I can work really quickly. I know exactly what poses and what type of shots to do. But if you're a newer photographer, make sure to give yourself that extra time, and that way you don't have to rush and you can really take your time with your families and your couples. Alright guys, well, I hope that this video was helpful for you. I know that there was a lot of different sections to it, and I could probably do a video on just each of the sections. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them below. If you have any ideas for my next video, I would love to hear those as well. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. Have an awesome day, have an awesome week whenever you're watching this, and just remember that Jesus loves you so much.